Samsung is a popular company famous for making smartphones, TVs, and household gadgets. But did you know that Samsung is also heavily involved in the chip business? Samsung is the second biggest chipmaker globally regarding earnings, and its chip business is expanding quickly. Samsung, a company known for its electronic devices, is a leader in making memory chips. These chips are used for storing both short-term and long-term data. Samsung has a strong presence in the market, holding nearly 50% of the market share in DRAM and NAND chips. Additionally, Samsung is the second largest producer of advanced logic chips used in various devices like Tesla cars, supercomputers, AI technology, and smartphones. Recently, a U.S. journalist had the opportunity to visit Samsung's chip-making factory in Austin, Texas. Samsung aims to surpass Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, the current leader in advanced chips. Despite facing challenges like falling chip prices, Samsung remains committed to its business. It has reduced memory chip production but increased focus on Foundry, a division that manufactures custom logic chips for external customers. Moreover, Samsung is investing heavily in South Korea, constructing a $228 billion cluster of 5 new chip fabs to be operational by 2042. In the U.S., Samsung is building a $17 billion fab in Taylor, Texas, to produce advanced chips locally starting next year. Through these efforts, Samsung intends to become a prominent device manufacturing and chip production player. Samsung's founder envisioned the company as everlasting, powerful, and resilient. That's why he chose the name Samsung, which means 3 stars. Over time, Samsung expanded its business into various industries, such as sugar refining, construction, textiles, insurance, and retail. Even today, Samsung remains a diverse and multifaceted company. In 1969, Samsung Electronics was established, and it became the division that gained the most recognition. The first Samsung TV was introduced in 1972, and soon after, the company made a bold move by acquiring Hankook Semiconductor, which paved the way for Samsung to become a vertically integrated consumer electronics giant. The Lee family, who leads Samsung, holds significant power and influence in South Korea and the tech industry. Samsung opened its first U.S. offices in New Jersey in 1978 and established Samsung Semiconductor in Korea in 1980. By the early 1980s, Samsung produced 64-kilobyte DRAM memory chips and had a presence in Silicon Valley. After the passing of the founder, his son took over, and Samsung launched its first mobile phone in 1988. Today, Samsung is the largest provider of smartphones globally, often competing closely with Apple. In 1992, Samsung gained international recognition by introducing the world's first 64-megabit DRAM chip, solidifying its position as a leading memory chip manufacturer. Its influence in South Korea is so significant that the country is often called the Republic of Samsung. Samsung expanded its presence in the United States by building a major chip-making facility in Austin in 1996 and another in 2007. In 2015, it unveiled a distinctive headquarters in Silicon Valley, designed to resemble a stack of flash memory chips. Samsung's primary chip manufacturing still takes place in South Korea, but it also has production facilities in Texas and China. While Samsung generates a significant portion of its revenue from devices, around 57% comes from memory chips. However, recent factors like rising inflation and reduced consumer spending have weakened the demand for memory chips following a global chip shortage caused by the pandemic and supply chain disruptions. Samsung's commitment to the U.S. is evident through its investments, such as the new $17 billion fab in Taylor, Texas. This expansion aims to meet customer demand and reduce reliance on Taiwan, where most advanced chips are manufactured. Samsung has invested $47 billion in the U.S. and employs around 20,000 people. The Texas fab, scheduled to be operational by the end of 2024, will be larger than Samsung's existing fab in Austin and will produce the most advanced chips made by Samsung in the U.S. The U.S. share of global chip production has significantly decreased over the years due to higher costs associated with building and operating fabs in the U.S. compared to Asia. The CHIPS Act, which sets aside $52 billion for chip manufacturing in the U.S., aims to reverse this trend. Despite Samsung's growth in the U.S., there are concerns regarding water availability and the power's grid reliability. Samsung is working with Texas Water Board and legislation to meet water needs, and it has set sustainability goals for water reuse. The independent power grid in Texas experienced a failure during an extreme winter storm in 2021, emphasizing the critical role of electricity in semiconductor fabs. However, Samsung knows the potential risks and challenges associated with the power supply. Overall, Samsung's expansion in the U.S. reflects its commitment to meeting customer demand, reducing geopolitical risks, and supporting the U.S. government's efforts to strengthen domestic chip manufacturing. According to Samsung's statements to CNBC, the Taylor Fab, Texas, will be the first facility in the United States to use advanced chip etching, EUV. or extreme ultraviolet machines. However, each machine consumes about 1 megawatt of electricity, 10% more than the previous generation. In 2020, Samsung used over 20% of South Korea's solar and wind power capacity. To address concerns about power reliability, Texas has already implemented 12 laws to make the power grid more secure, resilient, and reliable. Samsung assures businesses moving to Texas that they will have access to the necessary power at a low cost. Apart from its expansion in the US, Samsung has faced significant scandals and controversies in South Korea. The founding Lee family, which leads Samsung, has been involved in corruption charges for decades. J.Y. Lee, the latest member of the founding family to lead Samsung, served a prison sentence for bribery and was pardoned in August. Samsung's influence in the industry is immense, and companies like Apple have to rely on Samsung for chips and displays. However, the relationship between Samsung and Apple remains complex, as they compete and cooperate in different areas. Despite controversies, Samsung has not been deterred and has set ambitious goals. In 2022, Samsung announced a roadmap to surpass its market leader, TSMC. The company aims to triple its capacity for leading-edge manufacturing, with plans to produce industry-leading 2-nanometer chips by 2025 and 1.4-nanometer chips by 2027. Achieving these targets would propel Samsung ahead of TSMC, but it remains challenging as TSMC is the industry's most trusted company in terms of meeting its roadmap. As geopolitical tensions rise concerning China and Taiwan, customers seek alternative sources for advanced chips beyond TSMC. Intel, the next significant advanced chip manufacturer, is expanding its manufacturing outside Asia. The US strives to reduce reliance on potentially hostile countries for essential needs, emphasizing the importance of domestic chip manufacturing. While Samsung pursues leading-edge chips, concerns about its focus on legacy chips exist. The pandemic highlighted the shortage of legacy chips used in various industries, from automotive to gaming. However, Samsung remains committed to its forward momentum and sees the AI chip segment, particularly GPUs from NVIDIA, as a significant opportunity. Samsung's shift towards focusing more on foundry, as seen in its Austin facility, means greater customization for customers and potential involvement in the AI chip market. The future of Samsung's chips and its achievements in Texas, where the Taylor fab is located, remains to be seen. Making 3-nanometer chips in 2024 is just the beginning, and Samsung is open to meeting market demand and customer needs by potentially expanding its presence in Taylor, Texas, with more factories and investments. The conditions for chip makers are currently quite challenging, and it is a familiar boom and bust cycle in the industry. Despite some progress, the foundry business is expected to face lower utilization and demand in the year's first half. While there may be a gradual recovery in demand in the second half, Samsung is experiencing a severe downturn and inventory adjustment, particularly in the memory market, where prices have sharply declined. This has resulted in weaker earnings for Samsung in the fourth quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year. Rivals like SK Hynix have already announced cutbacks in output and capital expenditure. Given the significant drop in demand and inventory adjustment, production and capex cuts are necessary. The global semiconductor industry has seen higher inventory levels due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but as the situation normalizes, a mismatch between supply and demand has emerged. Meaningful production and capex cuts are anticipated, but it may take time before they're fully implemented, possibly towards the end of the current quarter. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.